Yes, and welcome to Vasily's garden, folks. In the veggie garden, looking around and seeing what I've got to do besides eat everything that's growing, which is going to be the fun part. We're in one of the beds here that we did with the workshop group, and admittedly we planted the tomatoes way too early, but these have survived. They were going backwards because we had that cold spell that kicked through, and we're just slowly creeping back up to the warmer temperatures, but you can see quite evidently how these tomatoes have taken off. We've got some good growth. The stems are nice and purple, so they've hardened off. As they get taller, they're going to get top heavy, and what's going to end up happening is they're going to start falling over and rambling all over the garden bed, and I don't want to grow them like that. You can, if you like, if that's your preference, allowing them to bush out everywhere and having a little treasure hunt in trying to find your tomatoes. But when you've got an overcrowded amount of leaves and leaders, because the tomato's like a vine, you'll find that a lot of insects will start nesting in there and start causing a lot of damage and disease as well. So you need good airflow. You don't want direct sunlight continuously 24 hours. They can tolerate a little bit of shade, preferably in the afternoon. So we're filming pretty late in the afternoon, and it's starting to be a bit, spotty with the sunlight, which is good. But at this stage here, folks, it's a time where you need to stake them up. So on the topic of heat and timing of planting, it sounds like it's a good time to start planting, because it seems the soil is warm enough now because the tomatoes have taken off, and that's a good sign. So I reckon, if you haven't already done so, get yourself organised and get some tomatoes into the garden bed. And when you do plant them, after a week or two, if not straight away, and I haven't done it straight away, is get yourself some garden stakes. Now I'm using old handles here, garden tool handles, which are going to be perfect for tomato stakes. Why we need to put them in the ground early at this stage, and even now is a little bit late, is that so we don't cause too much damage to the root system. Driving a stake like this through, normally a tomato stake, but let's say this was one, it'd be 1 inch by 1 inch, 25 mil by 25, or maybe 20 by 20. As you're pushing it through, you'll be tearing through some of the roots, and they're quite fine and delicate, and that will cause a little bit of dieback. Won't kill the plant, but will slow it down somewhat. So better to not disturb the roots too much and get your stakes in nice and early. Now, I've only grown tomatoes in these raised beds once in Coburg, and they went crazy, but then they got infected because they were on the roadside there with all the pollution. They're quite susceptible to disease infection. So I'm concerned on how big they're going to grow here, because I'm 6'1", and I'm already, my hand's up to 2.3 metres here. So if they get any taller than that, I won't be able to reach. Do your sums. Get your tape measure out. So that's about 6 foot here now, folks, just to make sure, all right, because I've got this dirty stairs. So that's about 6 foot thereabouts. And the tomato from the ground, or from where it's growing, that's really literally only about 4 feet or 1,200 or just over a metre, whichever way you want to calculate it. Problem is, they're going to get a lot taller than that. So we'll deal with that when the time comes. Now, the more leaders you leave, the less likelihood the tomato plant will grow tall. And I mean by shoots coming up. And a lot of people still don't get what I'm talking about, because I get the emails, what do you mean by shoots, side shoots, and second leaders or so. Let me see if I can find one here for you. This is quite difficult to see, but see this little shoot coming out there? So we've got a leaf here, there's the main stem, and just in between there, that's where it's just sprouted. Now, left untouched to grow to its own accord, it will grow out and become another leader, which is fine if you want multiple leaders. The more you have, the heavier the plant will be, the more likelihood it's going to grow out into a large bush. You won't be able to contain it really, like by tying it up or anything. But when you're using a stake, like a tomato stake I was going to call this, you can have 2, maybe 3 tied up to it directly. And we'll show you how to tie them so you don't cause any damage to the plant as they start to develop. But when it comes to growing it on this, I'm only going to leave probably 3 litres maximum, and try and tie them up nice and neatly. And the tomato plant initially, when you tie it up, will look a little bit ratty, a little bit messy looking, but as it settles into its new position, it will start to grow upwards and straighten itself up. So don't be too concerned on how neat or untidy it is when you do the tying up. It's more so the tying up that you use, or the style of tying you do. So at the moment, this is too young to be pitching these little side shoots out. let them go. Let them grow a little bit longer, like this one down here, just a little bit longer than that. Then you can carefully pinch them out without causing too much harm to the plant. And the flowers, well, the flowers grow in between the leaf shoots. So you'll find as a tomato gets taller, the leaves will be somewhat further apart from each other as they alternate from side to side. And in between them, you'll find a little tassel of flowers that will come out and start to develop. And if, in fact, if we're looking carefully here, look, there's some flowers already budding up there, or there's some buds developing there, and hopefully they'll turn into beautiful flowers and set fruit. So get your tomato stakes in. Don't have to tie them up as yet, but just get them in there so they can settle down and hold ground and allow the roots to grow around. And then as they get taller, you can either use, oh, I'm concerned about this. Why is it moving? What's going on here? That's a branch. And as they get taller, you start tying them up, and you can either use a soft tie or you can use a tapener. I wouldn't use a wire or anything like that. So old stockings or socks, if you like, tear them up into little strips, or just get yourself some soft ties. It's available on our website, VasilisGarden.com. I'm buggered because I've been brush cutting all day, and now I'm going to do some gardening just to relax a bit and go barefoot. From me, Vasili, Mareshi.